Hello everyone and welcome to this demonstration of Kneat presented by No Deviation. No Deviation is a consulting firm specialized in C&Q, but we are also privileged partners of Kneat, and it is in this context that are authorized to deliver official Kneat training and also to support you in all your Kneat development and implementation projects. In a few words, to introduce you to Kneat, Kneat is a tool that allows you to carry out protocols online collaboratively, but it's also a highly customizable software, which allows it to truly adapt to your company's needs. The aim of today's demo is to show you the general features of Kneat, and so we will put ourselves in the shoes of a standard user to see how to create and edit a document. Then we will see how to send for review, revise, and approve a document. And finally, we'll see how the online execution of a document actually happens. So I'm going to start by logging in. When we connect, here is the interface we arrive at. Speaking of features, one of the first features Kneat can offer, it's the ability to create what we call workspaces, hence different work areas. This is a feature that allows you to segregate your activities, generally either by site or by type of activity. So today we're going to stay in the no deviation workspace where we will be doing the demonstration. As a standard user, the buttons you'll have access to on the home screen are the inbox buttons for the inbox, the send button for all the documents that you have sent yourself, for the documents you are responsible for, and finally the workspace button through which you access the workspace itself. So for us, we are going straight into the workspace to see how to create a document. So here's how the workspace interface looks like. It's a bit like a browser in Windows. You have a navigation pane on the left, which allow you to see all the files included in your workspace, and to the right, the visualization of everything that is included in each folder. So us today will come here. In the demonstration, we'll create documents for a purified water skid named
I'll let
BKPO.
you look into it.
To create a document in Kneat, there are several solutions. The first solution is the one you already know in a classic case, which is to manually create the documents, which we needed. So here we can view all the documents that are available here in this workspace and also in what we call a discipline. So the disciplines, to tell you about them very briefly, without going into detail, at NIT we have the option to create what we call different disciplines. Discipline will be a different type of activity that will be managed in Kneat with different types of documents attached. So to go back to document creation, I have the option to either manually create my documents, or a feature that is very much appreciated in IT is the ability to create what we call document packs. In Kneat language, we call that creating objects. I'll tell you more about it, but to create packs, we have to go through a rather special document in Kneat called the log, which is already there, and I'm going to my log to create a document pack. So here we are in my log. A log is kind of like its name suggests. It's going to be a logbook, an event journal. In this logbook, we will have the history of all the qualifications that have been done on our equipment. So every time I create a pack, I'll have a line that appears, which means my equipment has undergone that qualification. So my log, as I told you before, is also Horny's particular document that will allow me to send it, to start my packs, to create my packs. So I'm going to do it right away. I will click on Create New here, and we will select a pack. Here we are in a demo environment. We have access to a number of predefined packs, but of course, in your organization, you'll have the possibility to configure them in the way that best suits your needs. So what is a document pack? Basically, it's, as the name suggests, more or less a predefined pack of documents that you will have made available to your end user, so they don't have to think about which documents to use depending on the qualification they have to make. So packs can be by type of qualification or type of equipment. For example, in the pack, we will not only find the necessary types of documents, but also associate with each type of document a document template suitable. So for example, in the event that we have qualification packs available for the initial qualification of an autoclave, in this pack, we will directly have all the necessary documents associated with the necessary templates for the autoclave. So here in our demonstration, we will just take the pack for the major modification and create the pack. So I'm going to say requalified
Let's
Bushwick, Brooklyn,
baby, it's goodbye.
then I change control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for example. There we go. So my pack is created. My pack is created. So I indeed have a new line that has been added to my log, my event journal, to let me know I have a first qualification made on my equipment. So obviously I can't visualize my desk right now. To be able to visualize my desk, I'll need to go back to the workspace. So I'll click on workspace here to go back to the workspace. And below my BKPOA01 folder, you see I have a small red box that was created, which is my pack. So I'm going to click on my pack, and indeed in my pack I have all the documents available, as I told you, for my specific gear, Machta. In the documents that are available, you'll see there are blue documents and orange documents. So here, actually, these are the two main types of documents you'll find in the NIT. Reality, the difference between these two types of documents will be the number of the approval step, what each type of document will go up. So for the blue documents, we are talking about design documents. There will only be one approval step. It's going to be a document that you will draft, and once it's drafted, you will approve it and it will be finished. For example, we have the functional specification or URS, which are design documents that we will approve only once. Conversely, you have the orange documents that will undergo two stages of approval. So the orange documents are what we call test documents. So typically the protocols will be in orange. So how's it going to happen? Are you going to draft your blank protocol? You'll approve it once, then you will put it into execution. The person will execute the protocol, filling in all required fields. For the protocol execution, and your protocol will undergo a second round of approval and will be finalized after what is called post-improbation. That's it for the document types, French subtitles. Today, we will go directly into the document to see how to edit a document. Now that all our documents have been created, I will go into the document protocol. So what you see is that indeed I have a template already linked to my OQ. So it's a pre-designed template by the power that would have already been pre-approved. Moreover, which will be made available to the end user. In this interface, you will find the same interface for all the documents you will use in the Kneat. Each time on the left, just like in the workspace, you'll find a navigation panel that allows you to navigate through the different sections of your protocol, and on the right, the visualization of your document. So here on the left, there are different sections of my document. I will not go into them for today's demonstration. Feel free to click on the link. I'm just going to go straight to the docu tests to show you how a protocol's editing is done. So first of all, in any document in it, you have the option to edit it while it's in development. You have the option to edit it,
Thank you.
to add some text. So you have an editor included in it that allows you to do simple things like changing the police, change the size, make it bold, italics, underlined, etc. You also have the option to attach files with the little paper clip here.
So I will talk a bit more about the rest. First off, an attachment.
You have the option to attach a file to your document by selecting your document here, or by clicking and clicking here. Most document types are supported in the NIC. We also have the ability, now this is another neat feature, to insert what we call properties. I don't know if you've already noticed, but here, when we are, for example, on the cover page, in our protocol, we have information that is already found here. Actually, these are details stored somewhere in it, and that can be recalled in different places of a document or seen in different places of different documents that are included in a pack, for example. So that's a pretty powerful feature in the Nest, because it allows sharing information without having to retype it yourself each time. In this case, I have properties called system. Why system? Because they are already included in the system. If I go into mode
interaction, I will be able to
visualizing
visualize
nature,
the structure of
and I
these
use it,
problems.
and they match information I have already given him or that already exists somewhere. So for example, the title here, the name of my skid, which in this example is called purified skid, that's the name. Well, it's the description I gave to the folder in which my document is included. So he went to look for the description of my document. My folder, here BKPOE01 is the tag, the number of my folder. So it went to fetch it. Here, no deviation is the name of my workspace. If your workspaces are categorized by site, you can go straight to the available property, which is the name of the workspace, to find it in your documents, and so on. There's also the existence of what's known as library properties. Unlike system properties, library properties are properties that have been configured also by power, which are more customizable by nature, more customizable. So for example, here, in this example, we have, there are a whole bunch of library properties that have been created. It could be a batch number, batch size, but for example, it could also be a document number that appears multiple times in your document pack, a change control number, or the reference in the document that interests you. So it can be all sorts of things, property. So I won't spend too much time editing my protocol. I'll just go directly to section 4 to actually go insert of the 4 tests in my protocol to be able to execute my protocol later. So here we will discover a new feature of Kneat, which allows introducing standard test cases. So standard test cases that will also have been developed in parallel and made available to the user. So to introduce test cases, we'll just click on the little add button here. And the add button, what it does is it opens up the entire library of ktests that have already been created in parallel. So we have the possibility to create a whole bunch of test cases that are available here. The user can preview them with the little magnifying glass here to see what his test case looks like, and if it meets his needs, he can then introduce these test cases into his protocol. So me here for the exercise, I'm just going to pick some completely at random. I don't have the will to create a real protocol for a purified water squid, so I'll just add test cases, something like this, so we can see what it looks like. So once I have added my brackets, I will exit the library by either clicking on Edit or on Interact. I walked out of my bookstore and I see that my CCs are here. so I can navigate it and see a bit what it looks like. Here's what a test case looks like here. What you immediately see are blue boxes and orange boxes, much like the types of documents I explained to you that are available in the NIT. Intuitively, I think you've already understood what it implies. The color of the boxes means that the blue boxes are everything that we call design boxes. Therefore, the instruction boxes that cannot be modified after the first approval of our protocol. While everything that is orange boxes, these are the cases which will be executable, so the boxes that will leave available for the performer to fill in during the execution, and which will only be finalized after the second approval of the cost of your protocol. We type of executable box. So as a user or a document editor, we can modify the types of boxes that we will find in our. We have several types of executable cases. We have what are called recorded values. So recorded values, it's a type of box that's actually a free field where the performer can enter text freely. They can also, as we did earlier, attach documents and also create non-conformities in this kind of situation. We have a second type of helmet, which are the choice lists, in which we will offer the user the opportunity to choose different choices by choice minister. So here, for example, SPAS, fail, or non-AA. It's quite easily configurable as well. We have the signature box type, which will allow the user to go and sign the line indicating agreement, execute the line's instruction. We also have the option to insert a type of a column called witness. So I'm going to insert a column here on the right, and we'll insert a witness column.
So, yeah, that's it. So I can change the column type to witness here. So what is this witness box? Actually, it's also an electronic signature box, except that it will be a box that can only be signed from the moment a signature has been placed for the line. I'll also insert other lines below just to show you it's actually quite easy to do. So if you have multiple instructions in your test case, just add several lines here. You also have the option to insert what's called an array signature.
It's going to be table
Here.
signature, then
Allows you to sign the entire table. So here, of course, I've put something very strict with a signature per line, a witness per line, and a signature on the chart. It's more to show you
very much so.
the possibilities that exist in it. Doesn't mean you have to add everything to your protocol, of course.
So this is what an investigator looks like.
And then we'll move on to the review part.
And the approval of a document.
Reviewing a document is quite straightforward. So you just have to go to the little review button here, and you can add everyone who needs to review your documents. In this demonstration, I'm going to add myself, even though, of course, that wouldn't happen in a real document. So I just have to add myself and click on Start Review here.
From the moment you click, see you at the start review.
Kneat will lock the version you're working on.
which
So
you're
in my
working.
case, it was version 1.1. The first version, it will lock it.
It will block her in review and open
A new version of my document, number 2, which is in edition. So if the version 0.1, which when you send a document for review, the person you've assigned it to will receive it in their email, an email telling her that she has received the provided document, but also in her inbox here, she will have received the document for review here. I would have received it here, and I'm now putting myself in the shoes of the person reviewing the document. So once the person has received the document for review, she just has to click either on the link she received in her email or on the link in her inbox to go to the document. So here I'm going to enter the document that was sent to me for review. So I'm indeed in version 0.1, as I mentioned to you, and I'll be able to give my feedback. So you could, for example, go back to the test case we were at before and ask the person there to add a reference, for example. So to add a comment, I just need to select where I'm going to make a comment, click on Insert. At that moment, I can add a comment. So for example, add
The reference.
Since Kneat is an online tool,
What's interesting here
and
is
of
that
course
several
that
people can
it's
be
possible for multiple people to be on the document at the same time to give their feedback. You also have the option to reply to comments. I put myself back in the author's shoes. I see the person's comment. I'm going to move to my version 0.2 that's under development to add the reference to the cover.
command.
So here I can put a reference, for example, XW 534. Right there, I'm not writing at all what I'm saying, 534. So I have put it well. I've implemented the comments well. I'm going to reply to the person here in my review version to tell him
References.
it's a very interactive tool during the review that allows several people to engage directly with the document. Once my review is complete, I'll just click on completed review here to indicate that I've finished my reviews. The document's author will receive an email indicating that Isali has completed her review. And if I go to the review tab we were in earlier to add people, we clearly see that the review was completed by Italy. Here's the review. I'm going back to my document in development as an author, and we'll see how the approval is done. For approval, it's also very easy. I just need to click on the approval button. So the approval tab, in the approval tab, I can choose an approval template. That's also a feature that exists in NIT and needs to be set up at the power level. What we call approval templates. The approval template, I'll select it and you'll see it right away. If creates a sequence of approval steps that will guide the user for the people who need to approve their document. So the approval templates will be specific to a document type. For example, I'm in an OQ and my power defined that the people who had to approve were the document author, the CNQ, and quality. So here, of course, we're in a demonstration environment and I don't have all these people to sign it. So I have the option to delete people who are not mandatory.
Here in this example, in the mandatory column, we have the C and Q and the Q, which are not mandatory.
In a reduction environment, we won't have reason to say it.
So much more.
The EHS or maintenance, which might be signatories but aren't mandatory. How will the approval process unfold? Each time we assign people to the approval stages, we will have people who will receive approval by stages. So first the person from stage 1, then from stage 2, then from stage 3. And if we've defined several in the same step, those people will receive the document for approval at the same time. In that at every step, I will have the option to select a certain number of people. The people I can select here will depend on from the user group they're affiliated with. So that's that too.
At the configuration level,
That we will define in each workspace
different user groups.
Shoot, then.
For example, height, network quality, quality assurance, maintenance, health, safety, and environment, those that I mentioned before.
And that's
Joining these different user groups will allow someone to approve or not a document. So here we are in a demonstration job, but I am affiliated with the CNQ user group and authors. At this stage, what Kneat will ensure is that a person can't approve a document twice. That seems quite logical, but if I approve the document as CNQ, I won't be able to approve it as the author anymore. If you remember, earlier I had my name available here. Now it's not anymore. In this approval template, we obviously provide a framework for the user to follow, to force it to go through a number of approvers or to advise it a number of approvers when they are not mandatory. But we also have the possibility to add people on an ad hoc basis in addition, which is not yet defined in the approval templates. So for that, I go to options, I click on new signatory. And at that moment, I have the option first select the approval step, like step 2 here, and specify in what capacity someone should approve. So for example, as an SME, I chose Christy, and you see that my name is no longer available here either, as I can't approve the same document twice. So I can add more people if we have others. So here for the demonstration, I'm alone to approve. So it's a special approval template where I can delete the codes. So it's not customary, but I can do it here for the demonstration. I'm going to delete all the steps that aren't necessary for today. I'm going to select myself as the author, and I will send my document for approval. So here I've seen all the people needed for my approval, and I'm going to click on the issue button here, which means send in English to send my document for approval. So here my document has been sent for approval. And at this stage, I always have the option either as approver or as the documents manager. There's always the possibility to change the person who needs to approve. So of course, the person who approves must always be part of the same user group. So they must still be the author. But at this stage, if, for instance, someone is absent or they believe it's not their role to go to, there's always the possibility to change the person who approves. From the moment I send the document for approval, it's a bit like sending it for review. The person who needs to approve will receive an email from Kneat notifying them that they need to approve a document, where she will also receive the document for approval in her inbox. So I've just received my document for approval. I'm going to click on it, and I find myself on my documents approval page. Like when I write the document, I have the option to navigate through different sections. As an approver, I will check that everything is correct, and I have a very interesting feature in Kneat. It's the possibility to compare.
So the
It will
comparison.
allow me to compare between all the versions that have been frozen
Those who
sent for approval today. Me, I feel like I reviewed only point 1, but if I had sent back, for instance, point 2, point 3 for review, I will also have the ability to navigate through these different versions. There is a right button here, which will allow me to navigate through all the comments made to me, regardless of the version sent for review, and I can click on it. So Kneat takes me directly to where the comment was made. So here it takes me right into that section. So in my test case where the comment was made, and as an approver, I can check. So check the comments and verify on my right page that the comment has been implemented. Just highlight all the additions or withdrawals that were made. So it will really compare the two for me to tell me yes. So here there is XU534, which has been successfully added. I also have the option to navigate through the different sections to see what happened between version 0.1 and the version that was sent to me for approval. Once I'm satisfied with the document's content, we can move on to approval. at this stage, I can either approve or accept to reject the document, as in a classic approval workflow. As the author of the document, I also have the option to remove the approval workflow, so to interrupt the workflow if I ever feel that I still have changes to make in my document. So I'm going to approve my documents. So it's very simple. Here I have a comment that is mandatory, so I will say approval. For example, it can be anything. It can be defined in your procedures. So the content here can be defined in your procedure, and my electronic signature to place here to be able to cover the document.
So there's my document.
Well, I was indeed ready to prove should I return to my workspace.
So my document was here.
So at the monoQ here, you see that the status has changed and it has moved to pre-approval, that it was in development before. So we have passed the first step of my document's approval, and I will be able to move on to its execution. So at this step, my document is indeed ready to prove, and I will need to put it into execution to be able to run it. So I'm going to go change its status. Here I can put release for testing to be able to execute it. So at this point, we still have the option to make another one.
Possibility to reopen it.
If we realize at the last minute that there are changes to be made to the document, but of course, if we reopen it, we'll have to go through a pre-approval stage again. I'm going to release it for testing. And my document has gone into testing. Here you see the status has changed again. It has gone into testing. So here I'm going to put an executor in the pod, and I'm going to run my 4 tests. Of course, as with the review, my protocol remains available online, so it's possible for several people to carry out different parts of a protocol. So on paper, where you had a protocol that you separated into several sheets to distribute, pages 3 to 5 to one person and pages 10 to 12 to another person, here everything is online, so obviously there's no risk of losing the documents. So I will go straight into demonstrating the test case I edited earlier. I will come here and we're back at the test case where I was just now. As I told you just now, everything that's blue are design columns, so we can't modify them anymore. And where I can execute are all the columns in orange. So as soon as I click on it, I have the option to do different things. Subtitling is divided one. In execution mode, we have several buttons available here. We'll first look at the execute button. This is the button that allows us to execute the document as if it was told to me. So to go back to the different types of columns we had earlier, the first type of column was the recorded value. So what we were saying earlier is that here we can input free text. So normally here we expect the current result to be the expected result. So I can enter it here. I also have the possibility in this field of free texts to add cells pieces as we did earlier. So here in the same way, I can select a document in my browser, or well, what can I put here? Or just click and drag it here. So here, for example, there you go. Once a document is attached in Kneat, it is possible to preview it if it's a PDF or a photo, for example. It's a white PDF, so there is nothing to see, but you have the option to preview the document. And for other types of documents, including the EHR, is downloaded. It's important to know that all changes are tracked the moment I enter any text into a cell. This is where we'll see the history mode, which allows us to actually view the audit trail. I will go to history. And here, when I click on the boxes, I have the ability to already see the value that was entered, the reason for the change, and the user who entered the text here. If I want to change the content of a cell, I will go back to execute. I have the option to do so. So for example, here, if I eventually want to delete the white PDF I had placed here, I'm going to click on edit, and I have a window that appears asking me to justify my change. So this is an option that can be added or not in Kneat. We may have to enter a reason or not. When we make a change, my pointed piece, and I will say,
But with this is the joint attack.
I'm going to save.
So
Here, firstly, I see a little pencil appearing indicating that a change has been made. And secondly, if I go back to history in the audit trail and I click on that cell, I will see the initial entry, which was my blank PDF. That's where everything is really traced. All the changes that were made will be there, and all the attachments that were attached will remain forever, obviously, in Kneat. So I still have access to my attachment, even if I deleted it in my edit. And I have the history of my change, so the value that has been, the new value that was entered, the reason I gave for justifying my change, and the user who made the change, the date and time anew. That's it for the T-trail. If we go back to the different types of columns we can come across, for the recorded value, we saw that we had the option to enter text, to add an attachment, but we also have the option to add an anomaly in Kneat. So for example, if I have an anomaly here, I can click on Add Issue here. So Add Issue, which allows me to directly create my non-compliance in Kneat. So here I'll put just non-compliance test for the demonstration, and I can go select different non-compliance templates or deviation or anomaly, whatever you call it.
Good. You call it that in your organization. So here I can select.
If it's not this template,
I'll click
I
on
can
create, and
so we're going to write succinctly. And if you paid attention, when I clicked on Add Issue and selected my template, my little document is an orange document too. So it's also, my deviation is also kind of like
a document that is executable.
We're going to check right away. My deviation is here.
Actually,
what happened is that Nita created a separate document that's included in my document. So here he made a link to the document he created. And here on the left in the navigation panel, we have the content pane, but we don't have the issues tab as well, where there was nothing just a moment ago. We hadn't created a deviation yet, but now we have created one.
thank you for watching
This
this
will
video.
show me the deviation that was created, and if I am in another section of my protocol, and when I click on it, it will take me back to the section where my reputation was created. So from there, I'll be able to navigate to my other document, which is my non-compliance, by opening it and clicking on Go To. So why is my non-compliance an executable document? Because actually, in the same way as a protocol, I will first have to fill out, now that we see for everything that is description, identification of the root cause, and definition of the action plan. I'm going to set all that up. I'm going to have a first approval of the cost of my non-compliance. Then I will execute the actions, document the actions I have taken, and my non-compliance will then go through the second stage of approval. So it works a bit like a mini protocol. So my deviation fills up a bit like a protocol does. Here, what you find in green, these are also properties. So we have a way to go there. To capture them is just to click on them in interact mode. And we have the possibility to then access the different data in the deviation. Here, for example, classification of my deviation, I have a list of choices that allows me to to say whether it's a software error, a hardware error, or a tester's error. Human, I have the option to have drop-down lists in the properties. I can have currency fields. I can also enter a date. I'm going to see if there is one around here, but for instance, no, there aren't any here. But here's the thing, I had the opportunity to go complete my deviation by entering the different details. I can then send it for approval and afterwards log the tasks I've completed. Okay, I'm not going to spend more time on the deviations. I'm just going to clarify that, of course, the template from the deviation, it is specific to your organization. You're the one who will do it. Develop it according to your needs. I will return to my initial update protocol, the OQ protocol of my SCID. And we look at the other types of columns. So here we saw all the possibilities in the column called recorded value. Now we're moving on to the second column we created earlier, which was the choice list column. So we gave the user the option to enter either pass, either fail, or end. So indeed now during execution, the user has their choice list available with the different options, pass, fail, or LA. As long as I haven't left the cell, he considers that my information is incomplete, so I won't have the little pencil or need to justify as long as I stay in the same cell.
Come on, goodbye.
Once I've completed my action, and for example, here I say, you'll understand that here, what I'm entering, it's nonsense. It doesn't correspond to a real test, obviously. Once I have completed my action as a tester, I will come to sign the line. So signing that, I have indeed performed the first action, which is in my protocol. I will sign, either I can double click or there's the little signature button here. For this, it's nothing. Once I've signed the line, there's a small green icon that appears here on the left to indicate that the line has been successfully signed. From that moment on, I have an extra level of self-tracking because now if I want to make changes for the line, I will need to give a reason, a justification. I'll show you that right away. Justification of words. Thank you to explain why I change. Beyond that, once we make a change after signing, first of all, the signatures will jump because previously I had signed for the content that was here before it was modified. I also have a small one appearing and the small pen icon turns brown. And at that point, if I click on history, I'll have a more complete audit trail in the sense that I'll really have a line for every action that was taken after signing. So these lines, they will also appear for the person reviewing and approving the document. So they are fully aware of all the changes made after signing. For the last type of column you will encounter, so the witness column, I want to point out that this is the only thing NET will control in your protocol's execution.
Actually, why I'm saying this is because
I cannot sign the witness column until I have a signature that has been made. So I'm going to sign the line again. So it will ask me for a reason again in this case because I had already signed before. So I'll say it demonstrates always. It's only at that moment after signing I will be able to witness. So why do I say it's the only thing that will block a hit? Because apart from that, keep in mind that it's a tool and it won't block anything. For instance, if I want to be my own witness, I can do it. You see, I was able to be my own witness as I conducted the test myself. In Kneat, I can mark a result as passed even if it does not match the expected result at all. I can execute lines in a completely random order if I wish. NET won't control any of this, so what's important to highlight here is that NET remains a tool and procedural control is necessary, whether it's through procedures which exists on your site or in your company, or by the instructions given in your protocol. To comply with the things you have set in your protocol. So here we are with the different types of columns you will encounter in Kneat. We've seen that also the signature block, the liner, we also had earlier adding a signature to the entire table. So this signature will have the same effect as the line signature, but it will have this effect on the entire table. So if I sign the table here, while I can more or less modify the data, which is, the data that's still here. So I always have the option to go and modify it if I lock the table. So if I sign the entire chart, I will have the small pen icon appear in the same way. So fewer possibilities to go edit every cell in my table, even if they are not signed. Therefore, if I want to change anything in my table from that point on, I will have the edit button, who will be available with the required justification and the password needed to save any changes I've made.
Here we go.
So there you go.
That's basically all the actions you can perform when executing a document.
The little button there.
Applicability and
duplicate. So what are these buttons about?
I'm going to move to the other frame.
Test.
The applicability button actually allows, since we are in an electronic system and that normally on a pattern, for everything that isn't executed, we should mark N1. We don't have the right to leave sequences blank.
It's the empty
To
oil.
be sure
Yeah,
that there's no one coming to enter things out of time, an electronic system. So in absolute terms, there are many organizations that allow the act of leaving subjects empty, in the sense that we are in an electronic system with full traceability, in a way that we won't be able to cheat, so to speak. So in some companies, they allow the option to leave cells empty. But other companies are not yet totally comfortable with this way of doing things, since with their years of experience in pharmaceuticals, it's hard to accept leaving cells empty. And so Kneat developed this applicability button, which can be set up or not in the Kneat application, which allows putting NA in entire rows. We'll see how it works. Actually, when I click on the applicability button, I'll have the option to mark certain steps as not applicable, where I will select the columns. The lines I don't want to run, and I will be able to click on mark as an A, where I will have to, in this case, also provide a reason. So for example, my applicable executed in the protocol, XXX, and also sign. But once again, this is a feature that was introduced by NIT because there were some organizations that were uncomfortable leaving cells empty. But today, with a full traceability system, it's really not necessary to mark NA everywhere like that. Well, what this feature, however, brings additionally is that there is the possibility to justify the fact that it is not applicable. So in the history, we also have the little message that pops up to explain to us why it's not executable, not applicable. Here's for the applicability button, the duplicate button, what it's for is in cases where we need to rerun protocols. So that's something that happens quite often during protocol execution. So on paper, what we would generally do would be to reprint the test case, to rerun, or even the whole protocol. In some organizations, to mark INA everywhere, it is not necessary to renumber all the pages. Make sure to reference it to attach it to our main protocol. In Kneat, it's extremely simple when you have to rerun. We will also, of course, have documented in our non-compliance as an action the fact of seeing rerun, a test case, and in Kneat, we simply select the test case to rerun and click on duplicate. When I click on duplicate, Kneat will simply make a copy of my initial test case. So I'm going to have a blank duplicate that I can come and rerun here in the same protocol. So the nomenclature will follow the initial section's nomenclature. And on the duplicated section, I will have a banner here telling me, indicating to me that it's a duplicated section, and I will be able to go to the original by clicking here. So I have shown you all the features available when running a protocol in Kneat. Obviously, once the person has finished their execution, they can send it for review and approval cycle. As we saw earlier during the pre-approval of this document. So I have finished the demonstration for today. There are still some features that I haven't necessarily covered during this demonstration, including other features that allow you to share data between different documents. Also reporting features that exist in Kneat. So if you are interested and if you want to know more about NAT, feel free to get in touch. You can contact us via the email address that will be displayed on the screen. And we are also available on the website, which you will see displayed on the screen as well. Thank you all very much, and I hope you have a great day.